Buffalo, we need to talk. Because in the span of one single practice report, the Bills managed to hand us a highlight reel hit, a coordinator's honest confession, an injury scare with a happy ending, a roster bubble bloodbath in the making, and a gut punch reminder that football, at the end of the day, is played by human beings with real lives outside the lines. Buckle up, Bills Mafia, because this is one of those camp updates where every single position group has something cooking. Let's start where the tape doesn't lie, on the field, with a rookie who is quietly turning heads in a way that should have every opposing offensive coordinator sweating through their polo shirts. His name is Zayn Durant. And in an 11-second clip from Buffalo's preseason bout with the Cleveland Browns, he did something that made scouts and film junkies alike sit up straight. Lined up over a guard, Durant got picked off by a tackle, then got chipped again by a motioning tight end. That's a double team, folks. Two grown men, professional football players, assigned to erase one rookie from the play. Instead, Durant shed both blockers and drilled the running back into the turf like he owed him money. Here's why that matters. Coming out of college, Durant built his reputation as a pass rusher, a speed off the edge, get to the quarterback kind of player. What he was not known for was holding his ground against the run. But on this rep, he didn't get pushed back 3 or 4 yards like so many young defenders do when they're overwhelmed. He stayed almost exactly where the ball was snapped, fought through contact, and finished the play. That's not just physical talent, that's technique, discipline, and coaching taking hold in real time. If Buffalo's staff can keep developing that run-stuffing instinct alongside his natural pass rush gifts, they may have found themselves a genuine problem for opposing offenses. The good kind of problem. Now let's pivot, because not everything out of one Bills drive today was sunshine and highlight reels. Defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard sat down with reporters and, refreshingly, didn't sugarcoat a thing. When asked about his secondary, his answer wasn't the usual coach speak. He came right out and said it's still concerning. Why? Reps, or more specifically, the lack of them. This defensive backfield has been snake-bitten by absences all off-season and into camp. Safeties were banged up back in the spring. Now in camp, it's been Cole, it's been CJ, it's been Max Harris, all missing chunks of time. And when your projected starting group can't stack practice reps together, communication suffers, chemistry suffers. The little things, who's got help over the top, who's switching on a route combination, who's calling out the motion, those things get built through repetition. And repetition is exactly what this group hasn't had. But here's the twist, and it's a genuinely encouraging one. Leonhard didn't sound like a coach who's panicking. He sounded like a coach who's energized. He specifically praised the mentality of this young secondary group, saying they're constantly asking for more coaching, more information, more detail. They're not the type of players content to coast on "I got it, coach," and for a defensive backs room that's this inexperienced together, that hunger might be the single most important trait you could ask for. Concerning right now? Sure. Fixable with time? Absolutely, especially with a coordinator whose track record in Denver as a defensive passing game coordinator speaks for itself. And speaking of young defensive backs proving themselves, let's talk about Davidson Igbonosen, because this is a name Bills fans need to start paying very close attention to. For a couple weeks now, the concern with Igbonosen has centered on his coverage skills in the passing game, normal growing pains for a rookie corner learning the position at the highest level. But against the Browns, he delivered a rep that turned heads for a completely different reason. His work against the run. He used his length beautifully in space, attacked downhill with real aggression, and showed off a tackling radius that makes him an intriguing developmental piece at outside corner. For the second straight week, he avoided the kind of coverage blunders that can sink a young corner's confidence and his coaching staff's trust. Is he a finished product in man coverage? Not yet. But through 2 preseason games, he's looking like a player worth continuing to build around. Even if Tre'Davious White and Christian Benford need to be the ones anchoring the outside spots to open the regular season. Now let's get into the human side of today's news, because football, as much as we love to break it down play by play, doesn't exist in a vacuum. Buffalo held practice today without a long list of notable names. Ty Johnson, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Shane Zylstra, Connor McGovern, and others were all held out. There's growing chatter that Jude Bowie could open the season on short-term injured reserve, which, from a pure roster construction standpoint, might actually work in Buffalo's favor when it comes to managing the 53-man roster. Ed Oliver was also seen walking around practice in street clothes rather than participating. And on a heavier note, one that deserves to be treated with the weight it carries rather than turned into a headline for clicks, reports today confirmed that the tragic loss of Oliver's son has been ruled an accident by police. It's a small measure of clarity in what remains an unimaginably painful situation for him and his family. And it's a reminder that behind every jersey number is a person carrying real life with them onto that practice field. Our thoughts remain with Ed Oliver during this time. Shifting back to the roster battles, because there are plenty, the newest unofficial depth chart dropped ahead of Saturday's preseason finale against the Steelers, and for the most part, it confirmed what we already suspected. Kyle Allen is still holding down the QB2 spot even with Shane Buechele's strong outing that included a rushing touchdown and a passing score. No real surprises there. Where things get genuinely juicy is at inside linebacker. Jim Leonard was blunt if you forced him to name a starter right now between rookie Caleb Farmer and incumbent Dorian Williams. He honestly couldn't do it. Both are healthy. Both are playing well. Both bring different strengths to the table, and Leonard even floated the idea of an in-season rotation. For a fourth-round rookie to be in a genuine coach-acknowledged dead heat with a returning starter this deep into camp, that's not normal. That's a statement. Personally, the ceiling on Farmer looks a tick higher, the coverage instincts, the range, but Dorian Williams brings a downhill physicality that's hard to teach. This is a battle worth watching every single week. Leonard also had praise for special teams standout Joe Andre, calling him simply a really good football player who can function at either inside or outside linebacker. Exactly the kind of positional flexibility that makes a roster spot secure regardless of what happens at the top of the depth chart. Michael Hoy got similar love, with Leonard noting he's absolutely ready to play right now and versatile enough to line up all over the second level, including in exotic pressure packages, because he's tenacious and, in Leonard's words, smart enough to handle it. Over at wide receiver, the plot is thickening. Skylar Bell is back at practice catching passes from Josh Allen, and don't sleep on him as a dark horse candidate for the WR3 job. Meanwhile, Josh Palmer had a scare. He took a shove from behind courtesy of Max Harris, went up for a contested ball, and had to get his wrist checked out. But true to form, he came right back in and hauled in a touchdown against the second-team defense on practically his very next snap. Toughness noted. So who's your WR3 heading into Houston? The depth chart says Keon Coleman, but with Coleman currently in a walking boot, don't be surprised if Josh Palmer's the answer come week 1. And finally, down in the trenches, the defensive tackle bubble is heating up in a big way. Dwayne Carter struggled through his first few days but has been on a serious upswing since, capped by a strong outing against Cleveland. Landon Jackson has also looked good on the interior. But it's Greg Gaines who might be the real story here. Leonard says he shook off camp rust almost instantly, made splash plays in both the preseason game and joint practices, and on top of that, he's logging real special team snaps in addition to his defensive tackle reps. At a modest $1.3 million cap hit, that kind of positional and special teams versatility could make Gaines far harder to cut than his name recognition suggests, especially with Fedarian Mathis still working through a 3-game suspension. So there you have it, Bills Mafia. A defense with real questions, a rookie class with real answers, and a roster picture that's genuinely still wide open with the Houston opener bearing down fast. If you loved this breakdown, smash that like button, drop a comment with your own 53-man roster predictions. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a single Buffalo Bills update this season. Let's go Bills Mafia. God bless and go Bills.